Everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, LeBron James wins gold and adds another award to his ledger. Who many of these guys are going to play in 2028? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always free and never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is over 25,000 subscribers are all hanging out, marveling, Andy, at the accomplishments of Team USA and LeBron James over the course of the weekend. Team USA takes home gold in Paris. They beat France to win their fifth straight, I believe it was, gold medal as a group, Team USA there. So the USA back on a good streak. Every time they lose, people do tend to freak out. LeBron named MVP of the basketball competition. So another award for him to add to his very long list of accomplishments. We'll get into that and ask the question, which Lakers might end up playing in 2028 when the games are in LA. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So, Andy, neither one of us are like USA basketball diehards where like we get angry if Team USA doesn't win or doesn't win by enough points or whatever it is. But that said, even without the super high rooting interest or this or that or whatever, what I was rooting for was really fun and entertaining basketball, and we got that through the weekend and into the gold medal game. It was really fun.
Yeah, both those games against Serbia and then to get into the gold game and beating France, they were both really exciting. You know, fourth quarter, the Team USA the Americans really had to make a pretty dramatic push. They were down double digits heading into the fourth quarter to eventually
against Serbia.
Against Serbia, just end up winning by 4. And then they controlled the game more from start to finish against France, but France kept making pushes, and it really took a flurry of increasingly insane three-pointers, including one over Victor Wembanyama, like the outstretched Wemby.
Yeah, look for if you haven't seen it, look for the photo of that online. It is crazy. It looks like photoshopped Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, and Steph ended up hitting 9 threes in, or excuse me, 8 threes in this win over France, but 3 or 4 of them were in the last few minutes.
4 in a row or 5 in a row in the last few minutes. France got within 3.
Right.
So it was close.
It is closer than you would think if you just looked at the final score. Like the French kept making pushes, and it's fun too. You can find online the French call of the last few minutes where the commentators just cannot believe what they're seeing from Steph. They refer to him as the devil, like that devil Steph Curry. Like they just can't believe that this guy cannot be contained.
It's ridiculous.
And the degree of difficulty on these shots just kept getting more difficult. But in the meantime, LeBron, you mentioned the MVP of FIBA, and 14 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, a block. Did have 5 turnovers, and turnovers were periodically an issue for LeBron. But from start to finish, LeBron was, if not the flat-out best player on Team USA, he was definitely the most consistent.
Yeah,
I don't think you can argue anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going, like finals, if this was like finals MVP and you consider the gold medal game the finals, you give it to Steph. 8 of 13 from 3, 24 points. He only took 14 shots, so 13 of them were threes, and like that incredible flurry when France was within 3. But LeBron, this is, we're going to ask the question, because Anthony, both guys talked about it. LeBron and Anthony Davis both talked about 2028 in LA. And we've spent a lot of time on the show noting how the Olympic format both the time from the end of the season to the regular, to the tournament, the structure of the tournament, the shorter games, all this stuff is really like tailored for LeBron at this point. The emphasis on skill play and all this other things, like it is made for his game. And he was night in and night out. You really got a sense of just how good he is. And it was interesting, we had that a lot of conversation about legacy and this and that, and what it does. And this, it was clearly really important to him to win this. So, I mean, we can say, and I can say more, I guess, between the two of us, that, he doesn't need this for his legacy. It shouldn't change, not winning shouldn't change anything about how people think about LeBron and all that. But LeBron clearly cared about winning this one. It was obviously very important to him.
Yeah, something I've been thinking about with LeBron and, this Olympic run and also winning the MVP honors. LeBron is at this place in his career where there really is not anything left to accomplish in terms of proving yourself. Like at this point, if you're not sold on LeBron, I don't picture anything being capable of swaying you. Or if say
I'll consider his Hall of Fame case when he's done. I don't want to make any rash judgments.
Or the whole overwrought, overheated GOAT conversations. There are people for whom Michael Jordan 6-0 finals, that's your domino. That's the thing that will never get surpassed. And I don't want to debate it. I don't care enough about debating it. But if that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel. And for example, LeBron is under contract for the next couple seasons with the Lakers. And if he wins a 5th championship, obviously that will be an incredible achievement. And it's more remarkable, I guess, than 4. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really do anything that significantly changes, I think, the way you feel about LeBron. But something I have noticed is whether you're talking about the way he clearly went balls out to lead the Lakers to an IST championship, to win that MVP award, the first in NBA history, and the hope being the IST will eventually be part of NBA culture, and therefore being the first will be significant. Playing with Bronny, regardless of what you think of it, that is something unique and different. This gold medal run while pushing 40, winning this MVP, at a very unusual age. These are things that I think are very unique and specific to his legacy. And it feels very much like LeBron is cognizant of the story being told in real time, literally and documentarily, because they are filming his last few seasons. That's going to be a part of a documentary similar to what happened with Kobe down the stretch of his career. And Kobe was nothing if not aware of the story being told in real time. Mm-hmm. I think LeBron is very, very heads up and conscious of the idea of these are things that are unique that I can add to the chapters of my story, as opposed to the things that's going to push him past Jordan. Because again, for the people who don't see it, they're never going to see it. And it's not an official ranking anyway. Who cares?
I mean, I agree with you there. When you start to see a guy with that many accomplishments divide up what matters to him more than others, because there's obviously still stuff motivating him to just get up and do the work to be able to play at the level that he demands of himself, to be LeBron James. And that's the sort of the day in and the day out and all that. But there's the other stuff. Like what gets him excited about basketball at this point? And he did say, afterwards, something that I thought was pretty interesting. I want to get to after the break. And then we'll talk about Anthony Davis, who was really important for the U.S., not just over the course of the tournament, but in the fourth quarter against France, had a lot of big moments, and he was the big on the floor. So we'll get to all that and talk about Los Angeles in 2028 next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. It's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Thanks for making Locked On Lakers first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There's no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed or as entertained as Locked On NBA. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So there was a quote from LeBron after, I believe, the Serbia game, where he said, I'm 39 years old. It's my 22nd season. I don't know how many opportunities and moments I'm going to get to be able to compete for something big and playing big games. And tonight was a big game. This was it was obviously a comment that got my attention because, again, I'm interested in what he finds interesting, like what motivates somebody at 39 in your 22nd season, all of these other things. What are the things that feel different? And the IST, I think, like you said, Andy, we kind of teased and joked about it or whatever, but it felt different to him. And
I like the IST. I was all in.
I didn't mind it either. I don't want him to win it ever again.
No,
at least not until guys retire.
No, do not defend that title at all, LeBron.
Let somebody else have it. But it was way more fun than I expected, because I did not expect the players to care at the level that they did. I didn't expect them to care more than they would have for any other regular season game against an opponent that mattered. And so I was way off on that. I think a lot of the players were surprised. So
I agree, actually.
Yeah. And so that part of it, I understood. But obviously there's something to a, potentially iconic game against Serbia, which that turned out to be. I mean, that was, if you're a person who digs the Olympics and Olympic basketball history, you will remember USA versus Serbia in 2024 in Paris. Like, that was a huge game.
Yeah.
And there is something to winning a gold medal and all that other stuff. But there's also the reality here of, you mentioned it, LeBron may only have 2 years left in the NBA, 3 years left in the NBA. We'll see. He talked about playing in the Los Angeles games and said he doesn't see himself doing it. I do want to ask you about that in a minute. But the obvious implication here, whether it's intended or not, whether that's what he's talking about or not, is that the Lakers are not in a place right now where LeBron can confidently say, like, yeah, I'm going to be playing Western Conference Finals games again. I'm going to get another trip to the finals. And so I don't know if there are going to be more opportunities for him to play on this kind of stage. And I would put a finals. I would put a Western Conference Finals somewhere in that neighborhood of like games of real consequence. The play-in and the first round are not.
I mean, if you want to play the odds, you'd bet against it. And that's not to say that the Lakers are trash, because you and I have repeatedly said this offseason, even as the Lakers have not made any moves of real significance, this is not a bad roster. It's a good roster. It may not be a great roster. It may not be great enough for what they want to do, but it's good. But even great rosters, if you're playing the odds don't favor you getting to the finals, winning a championship.
2 teams a year get to go. Everybody else doesn't.
Out of 30. And even though the world has shrunk the gap between the U.S. and everybody else at this type of stage, and we saw it because the U.S. won, but neither game was a walkover.
Mm-hmm.
you are still in a much better position from the odds winning a gold with Team USA than you are winning an NBA championship, unless you're talking about playing for like the Steph KD Warriors or like the Kobe Shaq Lakers. You know, like for the most part, the odds don't feel that strongly in your favor. So it's people will take it as LeBron passive aggressively sending a message to Rob Pelinka, and maybe he is on some level. I don't know. But there's also a part of it. It's just, this is reality. Winning an NBA championship.
For the record, I did not take it as a shot at the Lakers.
Look, winning an NBA championship is really hard under the best of circumstances. The Lakers are clearly not right now equipped to battle from the best of circumstances.
It's just, it was, there are these moments where you think about sort of what the end looks like for LeBron, and it's very difficult to conceive of, and it's why I think this Olympic question in 2028 is actually kind of interesting, because I don't know, like, is when he's assuming there's no catastrophic injury, assuming like the level of play, it's not easy. You got to plan around it. He can't, 82 games, a little tricky, like all these things that we've talked about. But the level of play in the broad grand scheme of things is still elite. And it's not even just regular elite. It's like near the top end of the elite. He's one of the 6 or 7 best players in the NBA easily, I think. And so I've said this before, something that maybe everydayers have heard. I think both the Lakers and LeBron, to some degree, are surprised that there hasn't been these sort of signs that the end is near. The end right now is like kind of when LeBron decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, which is a very different proposition than physically I can see the breakdowns coming, all that stuff. And so like when he says, I don't see myself playing in 2028, on the one hand, it's like, well, yeah, I don't see you playing in 2028 either. But I also don't know what the end, when he's going to be done playing in the NBA. And if he is either done playing in the NBA, or if that is his retirement season, let's say, he's still around, plays still good, likes playing with Brownie, whatever it is. The Olympic tournament, again, is so, assuming he's still playing at a pretty high level, the Olympic tournament is so well tailored to him. I actually don't think it's crazy to think he could play in 28. I don't think it is, but I don't, it is not, I wouldn't find it surprising, is I guess what I'm saying.
I would find it pretty surprising. It's not outlandish, just in the sense that we've seen the evidence at pushing 40 that he can still play at a pretty high level. But 4 years from now,
that's a lot.
It's a lot. As much as LeBron can still play at a high level, here's one of the biggest differences, even if you don't consider this his body breaking down per se. He does not make it look easy the way he used to. Like, you see the efforting from LeBron at this age. I feel like you see the effort, which is not just, I mean, I shouldn't have to point this out, but right. I shouldn't have to point this out, but Lord knows the way people will take certain things. It is not a criticism to say that you see more of the effort in his 20 plus season pushing 40. Right. Of course you do. But the point being, 4 years from now, I think I don't think that feels as realistic. Also, too, I think there's an element of, if you are doing this at 44, it starts feeling kind of hoggish. Like there is a point.
You mean playing on the Olympic team, not playing
in the Olympic team. There is an element of, you know what, man, give someone else a chance.
I wonder
give
about
someone
that.
else a spot.
I haven't thought about that. I could see that. I think you will get an element of people. It's similar, I guess, in some degree. Well, two things matter. First of all, how well is he playing? Is he playing it's still at a pretty high level where, like, okay, he's not elite, like whoever, but like game to game, like if you need 6 good games, which is what you need in an Olympic tournament spaced out by 3 days each, yeah, LeBron is still incredibly valuable. And, tying together a group of players that don't get a chance to play together a lot, LeBron is very valuable for that. All of those things. I could see it's a little like the Caitlin Clark, Diana Taurasi thing. It's like some people probably appreciate that Taurasi was on the women's team and are like, Caitlin Clark's going to get 4 more Olympics before she's done, whatever the number is. Other people are like, this is so stupid. Caitlin Clark should have been on the team, and Taurasi, who didn't, I think, play much in the tournament at all. I could be wrong. I have to look it up. Shouldn't have been there. I think you would get a lot of that. I think there are a lot of people who are like, this is really cool. And there'd be a lot of people like, dude, LeBron, let somebody else have a turn. And it's basically a referendum on what you think of LeBron. But it's an interesting point. I thought about that a little bit, but I don't think if it were any other kind of tournament, I wouldn't picture, but it's not crazy to me to think he'd be playing or wrapping it up and be like, you know what, let's wrap it up at the Olympics and I'll walk away after that.
It's not outlandish. I would honestly be very, very surprised, though, if it happened, even if, again, it's not outlandish.
I could be prisoner of the momenting as we speak. Let's get to
Diana Taurasi, for what it's worth, did not play in the game against France.
I know she didn't play in the gold medal game. I just don't think she played.
I'm just clarifying that for people.
I think she played more at the beginning, either in the tune-up games and into the beginning of the tournament, and less, obviously, DNP.
Sure.
In the last one. And in the end, it seems silly that Caitlin Clark, particularly how well she was playing.
Or Angel Reese.
Yeah, before the Olympic break.
Right.
But the controversy was really centered around the two of them, because they play the same position. But anyway, let's talk Anthony Davis, who does plan on playing in LA in 28, and he had a great tournament. We'll get to that next. It is interesting to think about. It's way too early for me to get into it, but like, who is going to play? Because you figure LeBron will be done. Steph probably wouldn't play again. I mean,
man, if I'm LeBron, Steph, and KD, that exit together was so awesome. Like,
if I'm Steph, I would. Why on earth would Steph play another Olympic game?
Right. It'll never be that good again, and you rarely get the opportunity to have your perfect exit, which is another reason why I would be
I think Steph has a better feeling for that too. And I don't think Steph's gonna be playing in 4 years either. So
I would be, again, it's among the many reasons I would be surprised if LeBron played in 2020.
Yeah, for sure. But there will be a pretty significant changing of the guard for the U.S. national team. Plenty of good players to choose from. I'm not worried about them. Anthony Davis has an opportunity, Andy, to be one of the sort of KD, Steph, LeBron guys on the next roster. He'd be 35 at the 28 Olympics in LA. And he says he intends to play, which I'm not surprised. And certainly if he's playing anywhere close to a level as he did in this competition, similar thing, I think, to LeBron. Like, as AD gets older, certain things might be a lot harder from an 82 game standpoint, but the Olympic tournament will probably be set up perfectly for him to thrive.
Yeah, this is a game. He played 20 minutes off the bench, 8 points on 4 or 5 from the field, 9 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, 4 blocks. He was a really dominant force inside on both sides of the ball. Anthony Davis closed the game. Joel Embiid had a very good game, felt like a bounce back against Serbia, but he was pretty bad against France. I don't know if it's just a continuation of what has not been a particularly good Olympic run for Joel Embiid, or really hearing it from the France crowd, getting it to him, or just still kind of working his way back into shape, whatever. But he got yanked about 5 minutes into the first quarter when he had honestly been a disaster. And Anthony Davis came in, him and Bam Adebayo finished out the first half. Joel Embiid played a little bit more in the third quarter, but then not really much beyond that. And AD was just, the stats, even though in 20 minutes, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks in 20 minutes is pretty good. The stats, I think, don't even really paint the picture of just how much of a force he was inside, disrupting, moving bodies, just playing really, really well.
Yeah, it was I mean, I would love for the Lakers to figure out a way to pair him with, I don't know, somebody like Bam Adebayo in the front court.
Do it, Rob.
Do it, Rob. I mean, make an offer. I mean, do we know for sure that the Heat won't trade Adebayo to the Lakers? I was really hoping, AD would be the guy. If I could choose someone to be the MVP from the Lakers for this tournament, I would have loved for it to be AD. I'm not saying he deserved it, but like to have played at that level. It's a cool story with LeBron and like the graying beard. And I actually think from a psychological standpoint, LeBron should actually encourage more gray in his beard.
Dude, he should.
I think it psychs out the opponents.
I tweeted that during the game at Cam Brothers. If I'm LeBron, I am dyeing what's left of my black beard gray, just as a way of saying I am so effing old and I'm still doing this.
Kicking your ass. Yeah, he should. I mean, can he do the Coutinho Mobley? Like, can we do that?
He should be showing up to games like with a cane and like a walker. I would
do the Willy Wonka where he starts and does the somersault.
Yes,
then he plays.
Like I would pretend that I can't hear. I would do all sorts of stuff.
Hey,
reinforcing.
What, JJ?
I'm literally doing old man game right now, and you people can't keep up with it.
But the storytelling aspect of LeBron with the gray and the beard is just so much better than it is when he was like really meticulously trying to make sure we didn't know he was bald or like keeping the gray out. So I embrace that. But I mean, I would have loved it for AD and I think he got enough of it where, by the end of the tournament, he was the big that the Lakers were going. The Team USA was going to. Him and Bam over Embiid, and you saw hit a huge block down the stretch on the perimeter. It was a closeout on a three that he got the block there, and the amount of ground he was covering. I mean, those pictures of like trying to shoot over Wemby are one thing. It's not much easier to shoot over Anthony Davis.
No.
And he really demonstrated his value. So it was a great tournament overall for him. And I do hope, I still feel like there's a little part pretty well established. I think he feels pretty comfortable with himself and his self-confidence and all of that other stuff. But I do feel like there's a little space still, even for somebody as established as AD, to carry the momentum of being one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best players on a team this good into the and just kind of remembering that. I do think there's still some value for him.
What's funny is you and I, before the show started, we had said that we would get into the idea of who, if anybody from the Lakers, would be playing for Team USA in 2028. And I just looked through the roster and I realized, or remembered, I should say, Anthony Davis, the summer of 2028, he will be entering unrestricted free agency. So theoretically, there is a chance he plays for Team USA as a member of a different team, or he theoretically, if the Lakers needed to rebuild before 2028, maybe traded to a different team. And then I peeled back the onion even further. In 2028, the only Laker on the roster currently slated to be there, sort of, is Dalton Connect. He will be a restricted free agent in the summer of 2028. Like even Bronny, like Jared Vanderbilt extension, Austin Reeves extent. Like there's nobody currently slated on the Lakers to actually definitively be a Laker.
That's pretty normal. I mean, there aren't a lot of teams with guys under contract for another 4 years, but
it's not unique to the Lakers at all. It's interesting when we were thinking about who could be on both of these teams moving forward. I really was like, I'm not sure who's going to be on the Lakers, much less who's going to be on Team USA.
If you look at guys who are on the team that, we'll see. Obviously, we don't know who's going to be on the team in 4 years, but like, the way that these teams are shaped right now, a guy like Austin Reeves, actually, if he keeps progressing and, all that kind of stuff, is in position to have a chance to at least try. He played very well for the warm-up team, essentially.
Select team, I think they're called.
Right. Where they play the World Cup or whatever it was.
Something like that, yeah.
he played very well in that, but like they want players like that. Derek White is not one of the 12 best players necessarily who are eligible to play from America, but he's one of the 12 best guys you can put on a team like that. Like, you need players like that to fill roles, to be facilitators, to, like, because not everybody in this group, I thought, did a pretty nice job of kind of fitting into the role that Devin Booker or different guys kind of fitting into where they needed to be when they're normally scorers. Jason Tatum struggled, I think, to convert his game in the way that needed to, which is why he didn't play. Played very poorly.
Side note, like, that this Olympic run showed, we were talking about, Derek White not being one of the 12 best American players, but he could very well be one of the 12 best players for this format in constructing a whole team. Drew Holiday reminded us yet again, he is one of the 12 most perfect players for any team. Like, Drew Holiday, like,
doesn't even need to be a basketball team.
Dude, every team in the NBA should be going out of their way calling the Celtics with ridiculous offers for Drew Holiday, because that guy is perfect for whatever you want to be doing with your team, any lineup, any look,
ever.
Like, he's perfect.
Well, and Holiday is and he's going to the Hall of Fame at this point. Like,
I would think
you start
so, yeah.
when you have the accomplishments of winning, combined with, like, I saw something, he's like one of, some of these numbers get arbitrary, but it's like one of 12 players or 15 players in NBA history with X amount of points, X amount of rebounds, but like, where you just see this sort of totality of the versatility and the thoroughness.
He is, I believe, one of the lists you're talking about is he's one of X amount of few players who've won an NBA championship and an Olympic medal in the same calendar year twice. I believe
that's one of them. That's one of the. This was based purely on his statistical production in the NBA. 14,000 points and 8,000 assists and whatever it is. Like, when you start compiling these numbers across,
like, he's just perfect for any team.
He's the Hall of Fame version of Derek White filling a role in this team. And so, like, Austin Reeves is the kind of player, he is not as good as Drew Holiday. He's not as good as Derek White. But, like, when you think about guys who have a future with, like, that's who they have potential to fill that kind of role, where you're not an all-star, you're not a first-team All-NBA guy, but you have tremendous value for a team like this. So he is actually somebody I'd keep an eye on. But
Reeves feels like a long shot to me.
I agree, and I think he's both probably getting a little too old, but also I think there are other people who will be able to do that better than him. My only point is, if you mention who else from the Lakers might, or who is a current Laker could be somebody who plays for Team USA. It would be someone like that, or even like a Connect who develops into a, 3-point specialist in ways that make it hard for you to keep a guy like have real value off a roster.
Better learn to defend more, or it ain't happening.
I don't think either is likely. I was answering the question of who else might play. But anyway, congratulations to both of those guys. It was I loved that moment where AD had the medal put around his neck. Again, you could just see how much it meant to these guys. And don't be one of these people who sits there and be like, it's Team USA. You saw responding to somebody who's like, it's like the NBA versus the G League. I'm like, no, it's not. And if
it ain't 1992 anymore,
right, if they should win every game, but these teams are good enough to beat them. They're good enough to lose. And so kudos to these guys for doing it. It is hard. It is hard to beat the home country in a gold medal game, in like when you are playing a road game there. And it was cool to see how much it meant to those guys to be in that moment. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out and leave questions, leave comments. Please do leave mailbag stuff for us, whether there or at Cam Brothers. Thanks again for making Locked On Lakers first listen today. Go check out Locked On NBA podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to Locked On NBA in the show description, so you don't have to search for it. Be part of the Locked On Podcast Network family. It's your team every day.